I'm the youth chair for the Michigan Republican Party and also a presidential elector for Michigan for the 2016 election. I think I became an elector for Trump because I wanted to send a couple of messages. I wanted to, one, send the message that the Republican Party is the party for the next generation of Americans. There's this false perception that Republicans are all old, rich white people, which just is not the case. So I wanted to send that message home. Well, I think the system to me is the parameters that were set in place in our Constitution by our founders. Specifically in this case, the electoral process. I think that the Electoral College, how the states are really focused on in these elections, it's not a federal election, these are state-held elections. That kind of a system is something that I believe in. I think it's what's made America stand out and what's made every American have the opportunity to have a voice. So I think that there's been varied messages. Obviously you have the Republicans, the Trump supporters that have sent a lot of well wishes, not just because I'm an elector and we won Michigan, but because as youth chair for the party, me, but largely the paid staff for the Michigan Republican Party put a ton of work into this election, and you know we're able to pull it off in Michigan for Trump. So I think there was a lot of well wishes and things like that on Facebook. But as an elector, I received a lot of angry messages from Americans that in many ways frankly don't understand my role as an elector and the election process. I've received a lot of death threats, and I've received a lot of criticism for supporting Donald Trump. So that's been a lot of the social media outreach from people. Well, I think there's a difference between death threats and death wishes. I've just gotten a lot of, you're a hateful bigot, I hope you die, which is kind of ironic that they're calling me hateful but then wishing for my death. They don't even know me. But I also think, I've gotten threats specifically, I'm going to put a gun in the back of your mouth and blow your brains out. Do a society a favor, throw yourself in front of a bus, all these kinds of things, which unfortunately I feel like people think that because they're doing it behind a keyboard that it's just okay to do. And it's not. It's never okay to threaten someone's life. I don't care if you're a college student, high school kid just trying to be funny, or you're an adult, which a lot of them have been adults, or adults. So my job as an elector is to cast a vote, one of our electoral college votes, and we have 16 in Michigan, for the person who won the popular vote in our statewide election in Michigan. That person was obviously Donald Trump. We meet on December 19th in Lansing at I believe 2 o'clock, and we cast the votes. There's one person for every congressional district and then 2 for our Senate representatives. So that's the job there. I think that there's a lot of misconception about what our jobs are as electors. It varies state to state. So Michigan has elector laws. We have, in the state of Michigan, faithless elector laws that essentially say that if you attempt to cast a vote different from how the state voted, your vote will be voided and you will be replaced by another elector. So that vote won't even count. So you get a lot of these people reaching out, begging me to change my vote, even if I could, which I wouldn't if I could, but even if I could, it's just not allowed legally. Some other states allow it. Other states have far harsher punishment, like prison time and fines. So that's a misconception that I wish people knew more about, because it's just a Google search away. Being a young Republican growing up in Michigan, going to a liberal university, I haven't had a lot of the satisfaction of being a Republican in Michigan. We constantly go Democrat in national elections with the president, and on campus we're constantly put down for our conservative beliefs. And I think it'll just be great to be in the Michigan Capitol, the first time in almost 30 years, I think, casting a vote for the Republican candidate for president. And I have the opportunity to do that, so that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But also, I talked a little bit before about the affirmation of the system and the system the Constitution lays out. And I think it's going to be great to be with all these voices, all these young people coming out protesting this election result and advocating for a national vote. I think it'll be great to have someone like me, I'm 22 years old, being able to cast that vote as a voice for our next generation of Americans, saying that I believe in this process, I believe in this system. The Electoral College is a great system and allows the people's voices to be heard. So I'm looking forward to those two things. Yeah, so as you mentioned, I had an interesting situation happen. We are having a counter protest to some anti-Trump people, and some guy assaulted a student and was running towards us. We had to dodge out of the way. And I think it really speaks to the deep divisions right now. And what I would ask Michiganders and Americans to do is act like Americans. Americans don't assault each other for political differences. Americans don't get in each other's faces, spit on people, try to throw them to the ground. That's not what Americans are all about. And I think that, in many ways, both sides have contributed to a lot of anger, and many of it well-founded, much of it well-founded. But I just ask everyone to act like an American. Americans don't do this stuff. We don't send death threats. We don't beat each other up for political differences. That's not what Americans are about. And the Americans who have done that throughout history have been cast out of our society, and rightfully so. So we don't act like that. And I just ask that we just live up to the responsibility of being Americans.
Electoral voters deluged with death threats in multiple states. Hillary backers, hateful bigot, I hope you die. I will put a bullet in your brain. One of Michigan's 16 electors who will be called upon to cast a vote validating the election of Donald Trump in the Electoral College has testified on video that he and others in the state are receiving dozens and dozens of death threats from Hillary Clinton supporters urging them to switch their votes to Clinton. On December 19, the Electoral College will convene to cast their votes for either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, with each state's electors pledged to vote for the candidate elected on November 8 in their state. But more than a dozen states have no laws making it illegal for the electors to change their vote, while others have only a minor penalty such as a fine for doing so. If Clinton's supporters can get enough of the 163 electors from states where Trump both won and votes can be legally switched on December 19, Hillary Clinton becomes the next president of the United States. Signed the precedent-setting petition supporting Trump's call for an independent prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton. Michael Benarian, 22, of Oakland County, Michigan, is one of that state's 16 official electors who will meet in the state capital of Lansing on December 19 to cast their votes for Trump. He told the Detroit News Thursday he has received threatening emails, lots of them, from people telling him to vote for Democrat Clinton instead of the GOP victor he is pledged to support. Trump won Michigan's popular vote and should be able to count on the 16 electoral votes in that state. Watch Michael Benarian, one of Michigan's 16 electors, talk about the threats he has received on his life if he doesn't switch his vote from Trump to Clinton. But Clinton supporters have deluged Benarian and other GOP electors with pleas and nasty emails to reverse course and cast their ballots for Clinton, the Michigan Republican Party is reporting. You have people saying you're a hateful bigot, I hope you die, he told the news in a 6-minute video interview. I've had people talk about shoving a gun in my mouth and blowing my brains out. And I've received dozens and dozens of those emails. Even the non-threatening my life emails are very aggressive. He said that while many of the emails are clearly death threats, others would fall into the category of death wishes. Things like, do society a favor and throw yourself in front of a bus. I've just gotten a lot of you're a hateful bigot and I hope you die, which is kind of ironic, Benarian said, that they're calling me hateful and yet wishing for my death. They don't even know me. What do you think? Sound off in today's WND poll on Stein's campaign for recounts in 3 swing states. The Detroit News verified one message containing a death wish and another containing a death threat, in which the person told Benarian he would put a bullet in his mouth. Benarian said he deleted the rest of the emails and messages because, as you can imagine, they're clogging up my email. An online petition on change.org signed by more than 4.3 million people is calling on the nation's 538 electors to vote for Clinton instead of Trump. Georgia official issues warning, stop harassing electors. While it is not legal to change one's electoral vote in Michigan, it can be done in other states, such as Georgia. Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp issued a statement Friday urging Georgians and others to refrain from using threatening and disparaging language to manipulate electors. The presidential election is over, but, unfortunately, the vitriol remains, stated Secretary of State Brian Kemp. Our office has received numerous reports of individuals hurling insults and threats at Georgia's electors because they are unsettled with America's choice for President of the United States. This is absolutely unacceptable, and those participating in or encouraging these efforts should stop. The electoral process in America has worked, and everyone, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and others, should respect the will of Georgia's voters and the electors who represent them. Arizona reports threats against its electors. Fox News reported Friday that Arizona electors are also being harassing and threatened by Clinton supporters. Arizona's presidential electors are reportedly being hit by a flood of emails and phone calls demanding they defy the voters in their state and choose Hillary Clinton instead of President-elect Donald Trump, as part of a last-gasp bid to overturn the election, Fox reported. Clinton backers are targeting roughly 160 Republican electorates in the 15 states that Trump won and don't have laws bounding the electorates to the winner: Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Utah and West Virginia. Partners in crime. The Clinton scheme to monetize the White House for personal profit is available now at the WND Superstore. Meanwhile, in Michigan, Banner John says he will not be intimidated and has no plans of changing his vote. Even if I could, I wouldn't be remotely interested in changing my vote, Banarian, a political science student in his senior year at Oakland University and youth vice chair of the Michigan Republican Party, told the News. The people of Michigan spoke, and it's our job to deliver that message. He says even if he could change his vote, it's not allowed. That's a misconception that I wish people knew about. It's just a Google search away, he said. He will be in the Michigan capital of Lansing on December 19 to proudly cast his vote for Trump. Attending a liberal university in a state that has voted for Democrat presidents in the previous two elections, he said he doesn't get many chances to celebrate a political victory. So he is especially proud to be taking part in the democratic process in Michigan that helped elect a Republican president. He participated in a counter-protest recently in which a Trump supporter was assaulted by a Clinton supporter, who came running toward him and other who had to dodge out of the way. What I would ask Michiganders and Americans to do is act like Americans, he said. Like the reporting you see here? Sign up for free news alerts from WND.com, America's independent news network. Americans don't assault each other for political differences, he added. Americans don't get in each other's faces, spit on people, try to throw them to the ground. That's not what Americans are all about. In many ways both sides have contributed to a lot of anger, and much of it well-founded, but I just ask everyone to act like an American. Americans don't do this stuff. We don't send death threats, we don't beat each other up for political differences. That's not what Americans are about, and Americans that have done that throughout history have been cast out of our society, and rightfully so. We don't act like that, so I just ask that we all live up to the responsibility of being Americans. Although critics have complained that the people's will is being thwarted because Clinton narrowly leads in the national popular vote, Banarian said the system will be vindicated when he and other electors go to Lansing on December 19. Electoral College defenders have argued that America's founding fathers designed the system to protect small states from being dominated by states with large urban populations. Another Michigan elector, Kenneth Crider, told the news he hasn't received any death threats but has gotten more than 300 emails from people in other states asking him to vote for Clinton instead of Trump on December 19. The 51-year-old heating and air conditioning technician said many of the emails were from teachers and professors trying to explain to him the gravity of the situation, urging him to change his mind. But he said there's no swaying his vote. "I'm 100% behind Donald Trump," Kreider told the local newspaper. Even if Banarian, Kreider or one of the other electors had a change of heart, Michigan law says their votes would become null and void and another elector would be put in their place to cast a vote for Trump. But not all states are that strict. Some electors could change their minds and cast votes for Clinton, a prospect that political analysts say is unlikely since candidates tend to recruit the most loyal supporters to be electors. But that doesn't stop the Clinton supporters from trying. "We are calling on the electors to ignore their state's votes and cast their ballots for Secretary Clinton," the Change.org petition said. "Mr. Trump is unfit to serve. His scapegoating of so many Americans, and his impulsivity, bullying, lying, admitted history of sexual assault, and utter lack of experience make him a danger to the Republic." While some lobbying is peaceful, other electors report receiving intimidating emails or messages, while the possibility of bribery is also feared. Hearing from them that they are also receiving threats, I'm interested in getting a consensus from the group and seeing if it's something that we should report to the police, Sarah Anderson, the Michigan Republican Party spokeswoman, told the news. "It's obviously something that we're taking very seriously." Banarian said he has not yet reported any threats to the police but is considering doing so. BuzzFeed reported Thursday that the #Note Me President Alliance, a national anti-Donald Trump protest group, has released the personal information of dozens of Electoral College members in states that voted Republican. A spreadsheet distributed to supporters Wednesday included the electors' personal phone numbers, addresses, religions, races, genders and candidate preference. The group hopes its members and cities